I'm David Ben Moshe, and with me is Chaim Ben Pesach. I would like to discuss the amnesty bill that was defeated this past week by you people out there. Some of you mobilized and you wrote your senators, you wrote your congressmen, you emailed your congressmen, you tied up the phone lines so that nothing could get through. I know many people wrote that they would never vote Republican again if this bill passed. And many senators on the Republican side got scared out of their wits and voted against this bill, even though they really wanted to push it through. And I am sure if we get a Democrat elected president, and we have a Democratic Congress and a Democratic Senate, in some other form they will try to push this bill through again. And I am depending on you people to stay mobilized and to stay off your apathy and make sure this bill never passes in any form unless it's a bill just to enforce our immigration law and to deport all the illegals that are here now. And speaking about illegals, I was watching Fox News just before I came here to film the show, and on there they showed an illegal Mexican who's been arrested 11 times, not for being illegal, for crimes he committed. Now, I don't know what happened to the 3 strikes and you're out law, but 11 times, and he was back out on the street, and this time he committed a more violent crime. He raped a woman. Now, the fact that he was illegal, he shouldn't even be here, or even legal. Why is it these people that always do it? You have the Mexicans and the blacks, and they're the ones that need special, lower standards, special considerations, affirmative action. They're the ones, the Mexicans, the Hispanics, need press 1 for Spanish, press 2 for English, or press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. We never had that with other people. Chinese come here speaking a language that is totally foreign to us. Chinese come here, they score high on tests. Many of them are doctors and lawyers and accountants and do very well in their own companies. They open up businesses, family businesses. They don't need special considerations. And most of them come here legally. There are some that bring them in illegally. But there are no special considerations for them. Why are the special considerations only for Hispanics and for blacks? Chaim, why did we dumb down standards just for these 2 groups and no other group?
Well, Arabs and Muslims also are part of affirmative action.
Well, Arabs and Muslims are looking to form their own schools here. Even New York City was going to create a public school for them, just for Arabs.
First of all, when you say Hispanics, it's a very broad category. You know, Cuban Americans who came here in the 1950s and 1960s were very successful.
I know. I know some who were brilliant.
And they're good patriotic Americans and good conservative Republicans. And so when we say Hispanics, that might be a little bit of a broad brush. There are Hispanics who are good people and who are loyal to the United States and who are opposed, by the way, to the illegal aliens. They're loyal to the United States. They don't want the country. If they wanted America to become another Mexico, they'd move to Mexico. They could have the original one.
Right, I know one of the ones I mentioned when there was the Mariel boat lift under Carter, when 100,000 from Cuba came here. He said they should not be allowed in. They should send them all back. And this was a Cuban saying that, a Cuban who did very well in this country.
So I just want to say that when you mention Hispanics in general, I don't think that fits in general. I think it's generalizing too much because there are Hispanics who are very loyal to the United States. Blacks is another story. Blacks, only a very small minority, in my opinion, don't fit the category of the Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Barack Hussein Obama, NAACP blacks, because blacks vote 95% for those people. And so we have a very serious problem when it comes to blacks in the United States. They're not loyal to the United States. They hate white people. They're jealous of white people. They hate the Jews. It's just a serious problem. Not all blacks, but the vast majority are in that category. They support people that advocate jealousy, hatred, ignorance against and vicious, even genocide against whites and Jews. They support that, and they vote for that. But anyway, getting back to this issue, there's no question that the defeat of this bill was a tremendous victory for the American people. We're still in very bad shape. They're still coming across the border every day, legally and illegally. The country is still moving in the wrong direction on this issue. But it would have been much worse if we had suddenly legalized 20 million illegal aliens and had basically put up a welcome sign and let everybody in from the whole world. Then it really would have been all over. So, thank God, this legislation was defeated. 67 senators several months ago supported this. The original vote, 67 out of the senators voted for it, which would have been more than enough to pass it under any circumstances, even if there was a filibuster. That went down to 46 in the final vote. 21 senators abandoned the bill. They want to support it. And by the way, they should drop dead. Even the people who switched. They switched because they were under pressure. Why were they for it in the first place? Those filthy pigs. Anyone who was for it in the first place or under any circumstances is a traitor.
Look at John McCain. His presidential campaign is just about shot. He can't even raise money now. He's got $2 million left. He's just about ready to run out of money. He went for that bill. He wanted that bill, and it killed his presidential aspirations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is really what killed his campaign. And that is one of the major reasons why George Bush, that and Iraq are the two reasons why George Bush is so unpopular. And why would the Republicans keep pushing this? That means that they are so determined to do what the establishment and big business interests tell them to do. The multinational corporate traders that want to destroy this country are telling them to do. It's absolutely amazing. But what is more amazing is you had a group of, I don't know, several 100,000 Americans. Because if you add up all the phone calls, all the letters, it's probably about several 100,000 people. I don't think it was more than several 100,000 people. They say there might have been a couple of million calls and other things that came in, but a lot of those were people who wrote to 10 or 15 senators or congressmen, so it's one person writing to 10 or 15. I don't think you had more than 500,000 people. In a nation of 300 million, of over 300 million people, the United States has more than 300 million people, 500,000 people stopped a catastrophe, stopped national suicide, 500,000 people just by getting on the phone and writing letters. Can you imagine what power we could have if we became a mass movement? You see our address, the address of our movement is on the screen. This is the address of our forum. If we became a mass movement, we wouldn't just get involved in emergency situations like this. We would want to replace these traitor leaders in Washington once and for all, which we have the power to do through the electoral process. We can do it if we mobilize, if we get together. All of these things are doable. That's what the defeat of this evil immigration bill proves. We have the power to do it. We still have enough rights that were vested in us by the great founding fathers of this country to do what has to be done to save America. They still gave us enough power, enough freedom, so that we can still save whatever's left of this country. But if we don't act, then this bill will be brought up again eventually, and it will pass. And even if the bill doesn't pass, we're headed in the direction of a third world majority. They're still coming in by the millions. So
the last thing we want to do is return to being the United States of apathy. We want people involved. We want people to push their senators, push their congressmen, and push the president to get this country back on the right track.
We want you to push them out the door, is what we want. We don't want to just push them on this legislation. We want to replace them. We want them out of office. If we become a mass movement, we're going to fight to get them out of office. We have to become a mass movement, though. And we have an agenda of actually cleaning up and taking them out. We're not like Rush Limbaugh opposed this and urged people to oppose it. And Sean Hannity, everything, and everyone else, they all opposed it, but then they support the senators and congressmen who are, as long as they're Republican, who are for it. So they do the Romanian waltz. One step forward and two steps back. We want to do all of it. We want to get the illegal aliens out, and we want the senators and congressmen also to be deported with them. We want them all out. All of them. We want real patriots in office. We want Americans that want this country to be what it was intended to be, to protect our borders, and to make this a great nation again. And it can be done. That's what the defeat of this legislation proves. If only we're willing to do it. A few 100,000 people did it. You give us a few 100,000 people. We're not only going to defeat legislation, we're going to defeat candidates for president. We will dominate the Iowa and New Hampshire primaries and caucuses and that whole process if we ever become a mass movement. So join with us. It can be done if we want it to be done. God has given us all the tools. There is no excuse. Shalom.